Hey there, everybody. Dreamsword here, and we're back. And if you've been keeping up with the series, then you know what that means.
Let's go!
That means that I finally frickin' did it, baby! Yeah! All S ranks! Accel car! It is possible. With one sort of caveat, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, so at the time of this recording, a new update dropped not too long ago. And with it came some new gadgets, some old gadgets getting buffed and whatnot, and this is what made it possible to get all of these ranks in every single track with an Accel car S rank. Now, granted, that doesn't mean they're easy. I took a break to see what the update would bring for a reason, after all. But it just goes to show you, yes, it is possible. And if I can do it, so can you. So, I'll talk about builds and stuff as we get into it. We don't really need that much preamble at this point. And, I have right next to me written which tracks need to be shown in order, so that way I don't forget. Alright, so, first up, Metal Harbor. So, one of the big buffs that came with this update are the tuners. Most importantly, the speed tuners, and this is what made things a lot more manageable, as you'll soon see. Now, that said, the pathing for Metal Harbor isn't really any different from the Sonic Speed track. It's just that the buff to speed tuners means that you can now get the speed you need in order to actually make it possible for you to do this on Accel car. Whereas before, it'd be perfectly possible on like any other car as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, you're gonna see some very familiar pathing here. So I don't really know how much extra I can explain that you might not know already from the Sonic Speed course, but I guess for those who haven't seen those, the general idea here is because in Metal Harbor you spend so much time in the air, you want to be using air tricks as much as possible. And you're also going to want to hit that shortcut as clean as you can every single time, too. It takes some getting used to, but it's perfectly possible. And also, when you're on the straightaway without a boot, you know, just using a wisp, very viable here. But yeah, now that we're full on rings, though, we don't need the right path, so we're going to stick to the left. Boost through the flight section, grab another wisp on the way. And yeah, there's your general path pretty much, up until lap 3. This is why the boost character kit is so good on this course, because it really lets you maximize the efficiency of all the air tricks you'll be doing inevitably. And you might have noticed I accidentally missed a boost pad back there. Yeah, that would have definitely helped on this time, but I managed to make it anyway, so I kept this take. But that said, though, even with all these advantages, the timing is still pretty tight, so don't let your guard down. But yeah, I was surprised at how well Mini Ring Game Boost plus Speed Tuner actually worked out. Actually working out better than if you replaced the two with Ring Game Boost, you know, the 2-slot one. It just goes to show you how important the speed stat is in Supersonic Speed. Alright, now we just need to land this shortcut one last time. Beautiful. And we can just take the ramp and get on home. Boost right over to the end.
Finish! No time like the present.
Alright, let's see. Next up is Roulette Road. Okay. So, another notable buff that came about was was buffs to the super, or rather the starter and the finisher ender, whatever the name is, gadgets. And the thing is, I was struggling with Roulette Road for a minute, because it's theoretically possible to do it without this build specifically, even before the, you know, update we got. But at one point, I just slapped this on as literally a joke, and it ended up actually working out. So I'll show you how that plays out. So when it comes to Roulette Road Supersonic Speed, the pathing isn't the most important part. Like, don't get me wrong, it is definitely still important. For example, if my memory serves me right, that wisp right there is actually bait. Don't actually go for it. You lose too much time trying to get it. And there's actually just one specific part of this map that'll make or break you, and I'll highlight it when we get there. But for now, it's just try to get to your 100 as soon as you can. Boost across there because the giant red zone. You'll definitely want to avoid the wheels there because they kill too much time. No, the make or break for you is this part of the section here. How you take this turn and how cleanly and tightly will absolutely determine how well your time is. And that turn is so tight, especially on a car with such bad handling, like your average accel car is. So yeah, it's basically the same for all three. Except the only difference is now we don't have to grab that one wisp off to the left. We're past lap 1 now. But yeah, no, it's without the buff to your handling stat, which is why you'll see some people use handling tuners on this track. Making that cut right there is very tough, especially on an accel car. And like I said, it can majorly kill your time if you don't take it clean. So, just barely grab the Royal Wisp there, and he'll be our final key to victory. And by the way, if it looks like I accidentally let go of my my drift there, that's because I did. So, yeah, my bad. You're definitely going to want to take those turns more cleanly than... You're going to want to take all these turns more cleanly than I did, but somehow I managed, even with bumping the wall and all that, so hey. These two starter/ender gadgets
no time like the present.
Work out more than you might think. Alright, so next up is Wonder Museum. This one, I had fun with one of the new gadgets they added to the game. That being Perfect Landing, and you'll see how that turns out here. So I've also slotted in ring range. Now, you could technically probably get this without ring range up if your driving's a lot tighter than mine, and also that says I did not get the perfect start. I assure you I did. I don't know why I said I didn't, but yeah. I use ring range here because of how tough the turns are on the increased speed from the sonic speed. Because you absolutely want 100 rings before you make the scripted jump. And now here's where you'll see Perfect Landing come in whenever you see that shine spark go off at the end of our car. Turns out, at least in terms of this specific time trial, the speed boost you get off that, very significant. You're going to want to be landing that as much as you possibly can, because it will make or break your time. We're also going to go off to the right here to more cleanly make this cut. And then grab the wisp over here. So, other than the addition of Perfect Landing, the pathing is mostly the same with one minor change that I will note when we get to it. We technically did already get to it, but there's a better time to show that off later on. But yeah, you're going to want to stay on the inner edge as much as possibly can, and just keep on landing those perfect landings, because otherwise you will not make the time. Honestly, I don't know if it was possible to do this with the Cell car before Perfect Landing came along. It might have been, but I could never find it. And yeah, we veer off to the right here so that we can get a more clean angle on this grass cut here, and thus increase our time better. And now here, for this split, turns out going off to the right is the fastest path. You might think with the air trick bonus, or air trick expert, that, you know, oh, I can afford to take middle path and boost across now. That's still ultimately slower, it turns out. So yeah, now we just take our usual path with that in mind. Across here, get the level 3 drift to grab this wisp, very important, even though a lot of people say it loses time, and technically it does. But we as an accel car, we have to take it for a very important reason, and that's coming up here, because it turns out on supersonic speed, you're not at an optimal angle to get any of those boxes. So we kind of have to make do with the other wisp instead, unfortunately. It's the only way we can still make this cut and thus get the necessary time save we need. So, one more perfect landing, and then we just aim for these dash gates, and we make it.
No time like the present.
Alright, next up. Pumpkin Mansion. We're taking advantage not only of the speed tuner, but also of Perfect Charge Boost. So, Perfect Charge Boost. I chose it because you do quite a bit of drifting in this track. You could maybe do this without it, possibly. But I just thought it was a good fit and ended up working out pretty well for me, so hey, if it works, it works. Plus 2, while I'm not sure if I managed to pull it off all that well or not, I couldn't really tell. At least at the time of this recording, there's also a glitch in terms of Perfect Charge Boost that gets you way more speed than what you're supposed to. Again, I have no idea if I managed to pull that off with this. But hey, you know, if you can use it, use it. No shame if you ask me in terms of using that. So. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to get a lot of more, or as many of those perfect drifts as you possibly can for the speed boost. Otherwise, the pathing is exactly the same as on Sonic Speed. So just stay along the inner edge here. Grab the twists. And now we're ready to take this cut. I actually prefer the Sonic Speed course of this, or the Supersonic Speed course, I should say, over the Sonic Speed. Mainly because on Supersonic Speed, you're going fast enough to where the ghost is out of your way. Whereas on Sonic Speed, you have to contend with him being in the middle of your path all the time. It's annoying. But again, I gotta say, man, the buffs to the tuners are so nice. I love them so much. It made so many more things possible for us to sell cars in the time trial. Alright, and now last but not least, we go across the invisible bridge.
Let's go!
Now we're all set to bring it home. Hopefully you guys can take cleaner turns than what I've done, but it just goes to show you don't need to be perfect to get these times down.
No time like the present.
Alright, next up is Market Street. This is one that I'm honestly not sure if I could have done it pre-patch. Because, to be honest, I don't think I ever tried it. I think it just completely slipped my mind, but whatever. It's here now, and we're taking advantage of it. It was also during this run of me trying to get the S that I made a pretty big discovery about the pathing on Market Street that at least I've never heard anyone else talk about. Although, you know, maybe it's common sense and I'm just a dingus for not realizing it sooner, also perfectly possible. And that is that this cut right here is actually the biggest in the track. Not just because of Off-Road Bounty, which does help, don't get me wrong, but like in general, because you'll see a lot of other people with time trial stuff or just racing in general. They'll save their wisp for the final cut that's coming up here, which, you know, that makes sense. But it's actually less, at least in my testing, it's less of a time save than that one at the very start. So, yeah, that's the important thing to keep in mind about the difference in pathing between Sonic and Supersonic. So yeah, we're just going to take advantage of that a second time. Even though we don't need the off-road again, biggest cut, so go for it. And now that we have that other wisp, we can stay on the inner wall here. And just take a clean turn right here, and we're making great time. Also, yeah, that wisp right there, it's a troll. Don't go for it. Or if you do go for it, don't go for the wisp that's on the big turnaround. So, yeah, we take the shortcut. Yeah, you basically have to choose either this wisp right here or the one at the start. And I opted for the one that's over on this path instead. So, maybe it's faster to do the reverse, I don't know. But yeah, now we just drive on to the finish line.
No time like the present.
Alright, next up. Steampunk City. And it's here where I slap on a different new gadget, Ring Evolution. So here's the thing. Before we start, I think it is technically possible to use Ring Game Boost instead of Ring Evolution and Mini Boost. It's just that the timing's way tighter. So if you, for some reason, don't want to use Ring Evolution, you don't have to. But this is just the method I found to be easiest, and even then I barely made it, so yeah. Again, I don't know why it said I didn't get the perfect start when I did. Weirdness on the replay data. But anyway. That's why we take the dash panel bounty, because maximizing our rings like that very much counts. And plus 2, it feeds more into Ring Engine, so that helps. Or, not Ring Engine, Ring Evolution, my bad. So yeah, with Ring, because there's a lot of, not only is there a lot of dash panels on this map, but there's a lot of rings as well, so both just fuel Ring Evolution so easily. And as such, your car just gets better and better. And, yeah, that's the name of the game here. And it's also why you're going to want to take these gates every single time. Now we're on level 2. And now, starting with lap 2, we can make this cut right here. We don't have to drive around that little section of the train. So that's good. Also, yeah, I didn't know until doing this that you don't actually have to drift around that first turnstile. You can just drive through. But the second one, you definitely want to drift. And of course, you know, boost through the plane section, as per usual.
I did it! Final lap!
And, you know, with lap 3, same as lap 2. No real changes. Especially now that we're on level 3 and we're going to be blazing fast. Now we need to take this final turn here. I miss a bunch of rings, but don't worry about it. We have level 3, so it'll be fine. Probably could have hit Rainbow, but eh. And there you go. Barely make it.
No time like the present.
Next up, White Space. Another one I just barely made. And this one I also used Ring Evolution for. Now, again, theoretically, you could replace Ring Evolution with something else, like another speed tuner, or with mini gain boost, or something like that. Theoretically. But again, this is just what I found to be the easiest, and again, I just barely made it, so you know what, I'm sticking to it, so here we go. Pathing on this one's a bit different from Sonic Speed, so we're actually going to avoid that wisp there, as well as these dash gates and all these rings. We're going to stay on the intersection here. Might be confusing for some people because of how much emphasis I usually put on getting 100 rings as quick as possible, but the way White Space is laid out, it really is a question of getting rings as you take the most optimal path, rather than prioritizing rings and then going optimally as per. That's generally the philosophy of this pathing here, and it took a bit for me to get used to as well. So yeah, again, just take optimal lines now. You might, even with Ring Evolution, you might be tempted to just keep gunning for Ring, but believe me, not worth it. Or at least not in my experience. Maybe someone else had better luck than I did. But, yeah. Also, this cut right here, massive for Wisps. Can't believe I didn't know about that cut before when I did the Sonic Speed stuff. Just something to keep in mind for if I ever decide to revisit some tracks, I suppose. Final lap, you're going to want to get that Wisp there. And here, we're going to take the slightly less optimal path to get that 100 ring, slap us into the next level, and we should be set. Now, maybe you can still go the optimal route, which is the lower path, and avoid the 100 ring and still make the time. I don't know. I didn't bother to test it. So, if you want to go for that, go for it. But grab the Royal Wisp there, and now we have what we need. Through here. Now that we're doing this moves through, I did not risk the shortcut, although that probably would have guaranteed the time. And we just barely make it.
No time like the present.
Alright. Next is the bane of my existence. Dinosaur Jungle. I hate this course. Although you might be surprised to learn that it's not the worst of the of these tracks, because I probably could have technically done it pre-buffed all these, because as you can see, I didn't use any new stuff. So, yeah, let's see how that plays out. There's really only one major difference when it comes to the supersonic versus sonic speeds. And it's more so something I learned that was more optimal than anything different on the course itself. But for now, we're going to continue doing what we did before, same build and everything. We're going to ignore that that list for now. We want to prioritize the rings. And we're going to want to grab the 2 Wisps here. These dinosaurs make me very nervous. Do some air tricks here to get a little boost, as well as just a few more rings. And now this old song and dance once more. Drift, boost, and then boost to get that other, to get that shortcut. I hate taking that shortcut so much. Alright, so now we've got 100 rings. You don't actually want to jump off the hill, or the waterfalls here. You want to just let them carry you down. Turns out that saves a good amount of time. So that's the major difference between Sonic and BiKiNi. Otherwise, it's basically the same course. So, yeah, and also, you know, do what you can to avoid the dinos. And as you can see, now the replay data is starting to wig out just like it did on Sonic Speed. But I hope you can get the general idea here. Because yeah, it's coming at us fast, for sure. Now here you'll want to jump to get the Royal Wisp. Keep on boosting through. And now, coming up on the jump here, it is technically possible to make the shortcut with just the King Wisp by himself. I don't like risking that, however, and you're also not required to do it, so instead I just use him for the cut, and I take the much safer cut right here. And yeah, as long as you don't hit the wall, you're chilling. And you can just ride right through to the end.
No time like the present.
Alright, next one. Digital Circuit. This one is also one that I think is technically possible, even pre-buff, but very annoying. And the philosophy you kind of have to go with is similar to Roulette Road, but we'll see. So it's super quick starter, and then just slow starter, like regular slow starter. So. And yes, you absolutely want at least a dash panel mini bounty to generate rings on this one. For sure. Because you're going to be driving in as much of a straight line as possible. And hitting as much boost pad as you want. So, just like with Roulette Road, this cut here makes or breaks you. How tightly you take that turn will save or lose a bunch of time. Also, it's optimal to get that 20 ring there. And if you can, you're definitely going to want to hit the center of that dash gate. I didn't manage to, but ended up working out in my favor anyway, surprisingly. But yeah, if you can do it, you definitely want to. Outside of those two major highlight things, this is kind of sort of the same as Sonic Speed. You're just doing much tighter turns. Although now we're definitely getting this wisp here, because boosting through the plane section is the optimal way to go. And like I said, just try to as tightly take this turn as you possibly can. It's tough when you don't have the boost on, but, you know, do what you can. Push through now that that boost is baited. And this time we're going to actually ignore the wisp along the wall there, because bait. It's probably bait in Sonic Speed too, I just didn't know. Alright, and once again, do not take that lower path. The King Wisp is bait. You lose way too much time going down that way, so don't worry about it. Now that we're completely jacked up in stats, once again, just tightly take this turn. And we'll boost our way through here. And again, when it comes to these turns, left path supremacy. Don't ask me why, it just is, okay? It's what works, I stick with it, I don't fuck. And we're done! Meme build wins again.
No time like the present.
Alright, and now we're down to the DLC Grand Prix. Before we get to this, though, you might be thinking, hey, speaking of DLC, what about Wily Castle? I've said it before in a previous video, I'll say it again now. I'm going to cover all of Grand Prix 2 in its own separate video whenever we finally have all three of those courses. So, for now, we're skipping Wily Castle. Don't worry about that. But yeah, now onto these, which are some of the toughest ones in this game. So, let's start with Minecraft World here. And as you can see, we're taking advantage of ring evolution once again. Now, I think you could do this without ring evolution. I think it's possible, but again, it's way tighter without it. And, you know, my logic was, hey, this is a DLC course anyway, so obviously you would have access to online stuff if you're doing DLC, right? Right. Therefore, perfectly legal. But yeah, your drifting, very important here. The angle you take and how tightly you take your turn. And you're obviously going to want to keep generating rings via boost character kit and following ring paths as best you can without sacrificing too much speed. So, like right here, that cut right there, like that drift, that made or break. That absolutely made the run for me. It turns out you actually save a decent amount of time by just ignoring that ring line and just doing the tight corner drift instead. And also, too, I found that, at least for me, doing the cut at the start of the lap is much better than doing the cut at the end of the lap. But hey, your mileage might vary. Grabbing our last list. Once again, ignore the ring line as best you can to just do a really tight drift there. Do a very tight drift around the dirt, not through it. And we're just going to cut through. Because as it turns out, we're going to need almost every single wisp in this course. Now level 3, use the boost to cut through, grab this wisp, take the middle route because it's actually slightly faster and you get more rings. And now we just, basically for this flight section, you want to pretty much be boosting as often as humanly possible. So aim for the center of those rings, boost across this path because it's actually a lot faster than taking the dash gates. Grab this here. And now with this, we've reached the coveted rainbow state. And we can go supersonic speed across to the finish line.
No time like the present.
Alright, so before we do BiKiNi Bottom, slight stipulation here. I tried, guys. I really did try to do all these without it, but in the end I had to. Yeah, so up to now I've tried to make it a point to not use double ring engine, but I'm not kidding. This is easily the toughest track in the game to S rank. I honestly have no clue how you're supposed to do this without double ring. If anyone out there's got a method, by all means, feel free to show me. But I could not figure it out, and this was the only build I found that worked. And even then, I didn't do it perfect, but I did it well enough to show you the general idea, so yeah, if you want to say, hey, you failed the challenge, you know what? I don't blame you, but I still did do it with an accel car at least, so hey. Here we go. So unlike Sonic Speed, where we used Boost Character Kit to generate rings as we were going, like you do with many other, many other water-based stages, here, you want to keep your rings up as much as you can throughout the course to keep feeding your ring engines. And the best way to do that on this course, I've found, is not through Boost Character Kit, because you actually lose too much speed that way, at least in my opinion, but actually through off-road bounty. And by the way, that you're going to want to optimize this water section as much as you can. It's tough. I don't have any advice for you. Just try. That's all I can tell you. But yeah, off-road bounty right here. Gain a bunch of rings here. And then, not just that, but gain as many rings as you can off this cut here. Yep, get as close to 100 as you can, and then the general idea is just try and make that last for the rest of the lap. That's the general game plan, and good luck. Because you're also going to need to land this shortcut all 3 laps, and yes, it is difficult, even though I generally know how to do it now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, it's easy. No, it's actually very hard. So, good luck to you. This track will test your driving prowess, absolutely. So, lap 3, we're now without wisps, and we're without off-road bounties to get our rings from, so it's just a race to hit there before we hit 0. You cannot get that boost pad. Do not try it. I have tried. You're not moving fast enough for it. So, you want to land to the right of this tidal wave, because otherwise, if you bounce off it too much time, you want to jump over the little wave there, angle yourself properly, grab that ring, boost on through, and now it's just try to drift boost up to the end. And even though I kind of fudged up that drift boost there, barely make it.
No time like the present.
Yeah. I know that went by pretty quick, and I didn't really get to say as much as I probably should have, but I hope that because that specific ghost data didn't really wig out all that much, I hope you got the general idea of the pathing. And, if you have any questions or whatever, just, drop them in the comments and I'll get back to you. So, last but not least, Pac-Village Maze. This one, again, ring evolution, and being fed by Perfect Charge Bounty, which is a combo I don't really see too often, but hey, it worked here. So the whole idea of this one is to constantly be getting those perfect drifts, to constantly be feeding Ring Evolution. Because it's the only method I could find that actually worked out pretty well. And also, you know, by the way, that cut right there at the start, that's the biggest cut on this track I've found. So that is what we'll be saving the whistle for. A lot of people tend to save it for the cut at the very end, which is understandable, but if we're talking time trial, that's actually the biggest time save I found out. Another really huge time save, which is deceptive about this track, is the way you drift the bend in this one. It's very important that you cut all these corners as tight as you possibly can. Might not seem it, but major time save for the maze section. So yeah, it might not seem like I'm abusing Perfect Charge Bounty all that much, but trust me, it makes a world of difference. Keep consistently getting it when you can. So yeah, just keep pressing for it, and it will treat you right. I think like a friend of mine counted it out when they saw the replay. I think it came out to like I got like 150 rings or something like that off this. Very huge in terms of how much stats you'll be gaining off Ring Evolution. And you know, if you want to be a snaker, then your build's even more powerful in that case. But I wanted to do it without it. So. But otherwise, yeah, the pathing is generally pretty straightforward for the most part. Again, you just want to focus on taking that cut because it's huge. And maybe you could risk getting the 100 ring right there, but I was making good time on this and I didn't want to risk it. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's generally worth it or not when you have Ring Evolution on. So. Make sure to grab this Royal Wisp here. That way we can do this final cut for the only time in the track. And with that, we'll be able to make it to the end.
Finish! No time like the present.
And with that, that's every single track S rank with an acceleration vehicle. It is, I don't know if it was possible in version 1.0 of the game, to be completely honest with you. I highly doubt it. But here, as we are now, it is. And I hope that for fellow acceleration enthusiasts, you learned something about different strats you could maybe use with these vehicles we all love, even though we know they suck. And if you have any tips or tricks or whatever that I might not have considered, by all means, please let me know. And until the end of the year, practically, that's pretty much it for this series. Again, I'll cover Grand Prix, Crossover Grand Prix 2 when we have all of it. Both Sonic and Supersonic Speed, I'll most likely do it in one video. But that'll come at a later date, so you're going to have to wait for Wily Castle. Before I go, though, I do want to give a big shout out to a friend of mine. She knows who she is. Which, by the way, I didn't even ask her if she decided she wanted to do this challenge along with me at one point. I'm not kidding when I say, if not for her, I probably would not have figured out, like, half these courses. So if you guys think I'm some kind of, like, genius when it comes to this game, I'm really not. Okay, but, like, I will gladly call myself the king of accel cars, as well as the king of radical highway. But yeah, no, I am not smart by any stretch. So yeah, big shout out to her. She knows who she is. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed this journey with me. And I do want to make more cross-world videos, although I'm not entirely sure what I'll do as of yet. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But until whatever's next, take care, guys. I hope you had as much fun as I did.